Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. This video is sponsored by Loot Crate, which is a monthly subscription service allowing you to get a box filled with lots of pop culture gear, some of it even anime related, and often has a bunch of cool exclusives. More on that later, but for now let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so today's tutorial is going to be on how to draw manga-style eyes and how to add color to them. I've tried to keep it simple. In fact, you're only going to need 3 different markers and 1 black colored pencil. More on that later when we get to the coloring stage, but for now let's begin by drawing just a few basic guidelines using a ruler. But you don't necessarily need to draw these lines. These are just here for those of you who feel you might need them. I'm going to go ahead and get started with some basic guidelines for the upper and lower eyelash lines. So you can see how the rectangles allow me to draw the eyes in the right shape and size. Notice how they touch the lines at certain key points. That way you can compare them and make sure that you get everything just right. Notice that this one is a little compressed from side to side. That's because the face is turning away from us a little. Well, let's go ahead and get into drawing the irises. So you see the irises are both oval shaped, and in the center is a kind of hugely dilated pupil, and later on we're going to be darkening that in quite a lot. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to drawing a fold of the upper eyelid as well as the eyebrows. Now, one thing to pay attention to is that both of these eyebrows are shifted over a little bit to the left compared to the eyes. That's because they're on the forehead, and the forehead turning in space causes the eyebrows to look that way. It's almost time to move on to the real-time part of the drawing, but I'm going to do one last thing in time-lapse. Going to do a couple of highlights on both of the irises. Okay, so you can see that I got the highlights in here to make the eyes look shinier, and then I also went ahead and erased all the guidelines since we don't really need them anymore. And now I'm going to do a little bit of real-time drawing on the eyelashes. Sometimes I see manga styles in which there are no eyelashes at all, so that's certainly an option, but I wanted to take at least a moment to show you how I would draw these in real time. It's all very stylized the way I'm doing this. Real eyelashes, of course, there's going to be many more than, just 4 or 5 the way I'm drawing them here. And of course, there's just so many different ways of drawing manga eyes. You really have to treat this as just one among thousands of different variations. But one thing to, pay attention to anytime we're really trying to get eyes to match one another is to make sure that you replicate the same direction. These are sort of coming out and pretty much horizontal right here, and I realized that I started to curve upwards, so I'm not going to stick with that line. I'm going to erase, I'm going to go back, I'm going to try to make it sort of match that other one. Maybe getting a little too perfectionist here, but the principle holds that when you're trying to do a good drawing of eyes and you really want them to match one another, you have to sort of make sure that you don't spend all your time just looking at the eye you're drawing. You have to keep checking back with the other one. Indeed, it's best if you don't complete an entire eye all by itself before moving on to the other. It's sort of gradually work on both of them as close as you can to around the same time. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of eyelash lines down here at the bottom on the lower eyelashes. Generally speaking, they don't get as many eyelashes. It's not as thick down here in terms of the way that eyelashes are illustrated anyway. And what I'm going to do now that I've got this all in place is to pull out one of the markers and begin to add some color. So I'm going to be using 3 different shades of brown here. I got a light brown, a mid brown, and a dark brown. Now you don't need to make the eyes brown. You can make them blue or green or anything you like, but see if you can get a sort of light, mid, and dark pattern to the 3 markers you use. Now I'm going to take this lighter brown one and begin adding some color to the first iris. People are bound to ask, what marker is that? What brand is that? And it happens to be Copic, but as always, I don't like people to feel like they have to run out and spend money on the particular marker that they see me using. Any marker will do, especially if you have bought it at an art store. They tend to sell good quality markers. And while Copic is good, they are rather expensive, and so I wouldn't want you to get too hung up on running out and buying just this particular brand. Now I'm going in and putting in a base layer of brown for the entire eye, and what I'm going to be doing later on is adding on top of it with the mid-brown color that I talked about earlier. But before I do that, let me go ahead and finish off this one in time-lapse. So now I've got the mid-toned brown, and I'm going to go in and first of all darken in the whole area of the pupil. Now very often people will make the pupil sort of jet black, which is the way it is in real life. However, within the world of manga and anime, sometimes people will do a sort of stylized version like I'm doing today, in which the pupil itself is, a sort of darker shade of the same color that you've been using for the rest of the iris. Now you can see that I created a sort of vaguely triangular shape here. As a general rule, people coloring in the irises of not just manga eyes, but any variety of different styles, will make the upper part of the iris darker, the lower part lighter, and I do believe that that is based on real life and how light hits the eye and illuminates the iris. Well, I understand, using quite a lot of time-lapse in this video, but my goal is to keep this one a little shorter than what I normally do. So indeed, I will kick it into time-lapse several more times before we're done with this video. I'm going to go ahead and repeat this pattern as you see it here on the other eye. Now that I've got that in place, I can go ahead and pull out the darkest of the three shades, and I'm going to go on top of what I just did, sort of a third layer here, and really go quite dark, as I was saying, towards the top of the eye. And in a way, we'll have even a fourth color when I pull out the black Prismacolor colored pencil later on to finish off this effect. As you see, I have tried to keep the highlight areas white, although here I made a little bit of a mistake earlier on. It sort of went over the line, so I'm going to try to correct for that now, belatedly. And by darkening this in, especially around the area of the highlight, we can get some good contrast going here, get that white highlight circle to kind of pop and really stand out in contrast to the rest of the eye, and that's really what creates the sort of shiny effect that we're maybe beginning to see now, but we'll hopefully see very clearly later on in the video. Now what I'm going to do, and I don't think you need to see me do this real time, I'm going to darken in this whole area also with the darkest of the browns, as well as both of the eyebrows. So the final touches are all going to be done with this black Prismacolor colored pencil. Again, I don't feel like you need to actually go get a Prismacolor necessarily. Any quality colored pencil will do. In fact, maybe you already have a set of colored pencils in your house. Just pull the black one out. Chances are it's good enough for achieving the effects that I'm going to be doing here. Oops, well, that's the problem with the Prismacolor actually, is it sometimes will crack as you're drawing, and you have to sort of conceal the little imperfections. Still, it does produce a very nice dark shade of black, and that's why I remain committed to the black Prismacolor, at least for my own work. And what I'm doing here is going in and sort of outlining this dark brown area, the upper eyelash, and maybe what I'll do, rather than spend too much time on that, is to come over here where I think it really is going to make a big difference, the upper area of the iris, which I am going to indeed darken the outer edge of, but then really begin to go super dark at the very, very top. And by going jet black right in here, I think we can really start to get a nice shiny effect. And you know, manga or so-called anime style eyes are really well known for that that shiny look, and so that's definitely a a nice little trick that you should keep in mind. It's contrast, really, that's achieving that, getting these highlights in there, and then going from a lighter color all the way into a much, much darker color. The more contrast you can get, the more of a shiny effect that you're going to have. In terms of how much I use the black colored pencil to go over each and everything that I did before, I'm going to really try not to use too much of it on the interior here of the, say, the pupil area. I guess you could go in there and maybe lightly darken that in if you wanted to, but I'm probably going to confine most of it to sort of gradually having this dark area lighten up little by little, creating a kind of a gradient fade as we go down. As for the other parts of the eye, I think I really am just sort of outlining them. You don't want to cover up all of that brown color that you'd put in there initially. I'm just trying to sort of tighten up the contour, make things look a little cleaner that way. So, well, bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and kick it into time-lapse one more time. I think we're going to be able to do all of the final touches, and then I can be back with a few final words. Alright, well, there's my video on how to draw and color manga-style eyes. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, hang on, I'm going to show you some of the cool anime-related stuff that you can get when you sign up for Loot Crate. So what happens with Loot Crate is you get this big box of stuff that comes to your door every month. The theme for the month of December is anime, and I can't show you everything that's inside. That would give away too much of the surprise, but I can show you one of the things. This vinyl figure, the best of anime. I wanted to zoom in here and show you a pretty impressive list of properties here. Fairy Tail, Black Butler, Attack on Titan, Sword Art Online, and Soul Eater. You really can't do much better than that, and look at what I got when I opened the box. Yes, it is CL Phantom Hive. This one is definitely going on the table here for me to look at every day as I get work done. Now, you only have until December 19th to get all of these exclusive items, so if you want them, go ahead and head over to lootcrate.com/markcrilley and sign up using the code CRILLEY to save 10% on your entire subscription. Thank you so much, Loot Crate. You are indeed the first service that has actually sponsored one of my videos, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Well, let's go ahead and wind this one down. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.